Right, Anthony, so today we're talking about a bit of a... I don't know if this is a scandal. Probably not.
In the legal world, it is.
It is, okay.
Yeah, basically it's about juries and the internet. What's happened is that the Lord Chief Justice, who's the head of our legal system, has come out and said that he thinks the jury system is at risk. And when people talk about things like that, they usually think it's because someone's thinking of abolishing it or to save costs or something of that kind. Yeah. But in fact, it's not about that. It's about the fact of the internet. And obviously the whole point about juries is that they decide the case on the evidence before them and without influence from any other source. But in fact, what has been happening is that obviously people have got the internet, and the cases that go on for a while, perhaps they're going home, looking on the internet and finding out things, background things.
I can certainly imagine that would happen. If I were a jury member, I probably would be very tempted to do that as well.
Unless advised not to.
Absolutely, because you're not forming a judgment on the evidence. You're forming it on the basis of some other extraneous information. So this is quite serious from the point of view of the whole ethos and essence of the jury, which is this, 12 good men and true in a room listening to all this evidence and making a decision.
Because am I right that in a court of law it is still the case that until sentencing a accused's previous convictions are not revealed? Is that right?
That's absolutely right, and this is a good example of the problem that's occurred.
So of course the jury, if Joe Bloggs was up there for an armed robbery and he's dressed in a suit and tie and looking like a respectable person, a jury member could go home and Google Joe Bloggs and find out that he's done 4 of these before.
Yeah, it's possible, and the other way that it's happening is by Twitter, in fact, that people are tweeting around and picking these things up. Now, of course, it's not to say that these things might not have happened before, because word of mouth might have also caused exchanges to occur which shouldn't have happened. But obviously the internet has made it much more likely that this will occur. And these things are contempt of court. So if you're using all these other methods to find the answer, as it were, if discovered, it would be contempt of court and could be quite serious in terms of contempt of court is imprisonable.
But I understand that, and I understand that the judge will injunct the jury to not do these kind of things and not to talk to people about it and so on. But would it really matter in terms of the verdict if a juror did do some research? Surely they'd be a better informed person, wouldn't they?
Well, the thing is that what you get on the internet is not necessarily evidence, is it? I mean, we all, this is one of the difficulties with the information age, we all act quite superficially.
I just thought of an argument against what I'm saying, and that argument is Facebook, of course, because lots of things on Facebook are scurrilous and so on and so forth, and they might they might look up the accused's name on Facebook, and lots of people might be saying, oh, he's a wonderful person, or he's the reverse, and that would be just hearsay and opinion, which would be wrong.
Absolutely, but even on Wikipedia, I mean, you can't regard that as evidence. I mean, that's opinion also, and conclusions that people have drawn from other sources. It's not direct evidence, and the law has gone to great extent in its consideration of what is admissible and inadmissible evidence. And once you start throwing that out, you're creating a totally different system.
So what are the implications then for the future?
Nothing at the moment. I mean, there's no proposal to do anything about this, but it's just a warning shot. I mean, it is a problem with fraud trials, because some of those cases can be extremely taxing in terms of, I mean, obviously the fact that people have come up with these extremely complex fraudulent schemes. They're clever people, and the juries are having to grapple with whether they, they're just understanding with the fraud itself.
The basic question that juries always must wrestle with is who to believe. And some people can be very plausible, can't they? We know that. And if you layer on that a complex argument about something that jurors are not expert in, like for example fraud or something complex like that, then the job of a juror is very, very difficult, and I can imagine them rushing to the internet for some help here.
Yeah, which you could say, I mean, it's not to be encouraged by our system. You could say in that scenario it was actually quite helpful because they're sort of doing a homework on, say, for instance, it was some kind of scam on a stock exchange. There's a lot of information to absorb there.
But the other argument is, one of the things I suggested that jurors might find out is whether the accused has had previous convictions. I've always felt it's wrong for a jury not to know if a person's had previous convictions.
That's a point.
A defence counsel can paint a whiter than white picture of this guy.
Oh, well, no, you can't actually.
Dress him up in a suit with a tie.
You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
Really? You're not. It's wrong to paint a good picture of somebody, because in fact that's the exception where you can bring in previous convictions. If the defence barrister says that, then it's possible for the prosecution in certain circumstances to say, right, now these convictions are going to be
is that so?
Yeah, that people have said. So anyway, so it's an interesting subject, and it's an example of the way that the law has to adapt to different eras and different times.
And is it going to adapt? Is this the case? Is anybody looking at this at the moment?
Yeah, I'm looking at the moment, and there's no proposals for it.
No. Thank you, Anthony. It's a very interesting debate, actually, and I hadn't thought about this before, but it's one that perhaps we could have some feedback on if you find out any more about what's going to happen about this whole question of juries being influenced by what they read on the internet. Then it'd be interesting to follow that up.